What's going on, CrossFit Federal? It is Thursday. That means it's a makeup day, but it's also an active recovery day. Or in this case, we're gonna spend some time doing some new things that might be new to most of you. Sorry about the noise. Gunner is whipping around a toy over here, so if it's a little noisy, I apologize. Anyway, we're going to start off with a 10-minute EMOM of our snatch, and this is gonna be at 70%. Sure, that kind of works. Yeah, let's do that. 70%. And it is going to be 2 reps every minute on the minute. Now, ideally, this is a squat snatch and not a power snatch. Depends on how you're feeling. We just did Barbara yesterday. So that 250 air squats, we might be feeling that a bit. If it's power snatch instead of a squat, that's okay. Not totally ideal because we want these EMOMs on our Thursdays. We want these to be a time to refine movement, to move better, make that Oli stuff better, understand better where we need to work on, or what we need to work on, where we need to grow as athletes when it comes to our Olympic lifting. So make sure that when we're doing those 2 reps every minute on the minute, we are doing them and making them the closest to perfect reps that we possibly can, depending on where we're at as an athlete. So when we get done with that, I won't go into the details on the snatch because we've talked about details on snatch and technique and all that stuff a lot in this video. I'll save that for when you're in the gym and we're coaching you. It's gonna be, when we're done with our snatch EMOM, we're gonna go transition over and spend some time working with the yoke. We're going to find a heavy 50-foot yoke carry. Now, the thing with this is because it is an active recovery day and you go, well, that doesn't sound active recovery. Well, we only have 1 yoke in the gym right now, as we still have some equipment that's out at other members' houses that have yet to return, just with COVID and all that sort of stuff. So we'll only have 1 yoke to be able to share. We're gonna do this outside. It's gonna be outside. Why? Because if we do yoke carries in the gym, we're gonna tear up all the tape and all the stuff that we just put down over the last weekend, and let's not do that. Hopefully the weather complies tomorrow or on Thursday. So we'll set up a 50-foot marker outside. We then are gonna work up to a heavy yoke carry outside for 50 feet. And since we're sharing it, we're gonna disinfect the yoke every time we're done with one person using it and all that sort of stuff. But that will give us plenty of rest in between attempts and allow us to just spend some time doing something new with a newer implement for a lot of us if we haven't done a lot of yoke carries or anything like that. So working up to that yoke carry, and then when we're done with that, we're going to accumulate 3 minutes in a handstand. That can be against the wall, that can be freestanding, that can be piked on a box, it can be anything to get inverted and just spend some time upside down in a static position, so that way we can just work at building some of that capacity and just doing that when there's not a clock running and we're not doing handstand push-ups and wall balls and whatever else is in that workout. So it's a lower stress and chances for us to work on some of those positions that we use all the time. But let's go over and let's talk about the yoke and some things we need to know about the yoke before we dive into that. So when I am working with the yoke, the first thing I want to do is I want to set that crossbar. In this case, the yokes that we have cotter pins on the side where you undo the cotter pin and you can move this bar up and down. When I set the yoke, I want to make sure that when I'm getting under the yoke, and you're going to put it in a similar position where you would a high bar back squat. When I stand up, there's enough clearance that as I start to move, or if that thing rocks a little bit, I'm not going to hit the ground. If I don't have enough clearance and I try to move, the skids are going to drag on the floor and all that other stuff. Now, when we talk about a yoke carry, there's a lot of midline tension that we're working to build. So as I'm adding weight, before I get to midline tension, as I'm adding weight, I want to make sure that I'm going opposite and opposing when I'm adding weight. So I've got a couple 45-pound plates, and what I'm not going to do is load up the weight on the same side. So one, if I go all the weight on the left side, then it's unbalanced. But if I also put all the weight on the front like this is what you don't want to do. Then when I go to pick up that yoke, it's going to lean forward. So I want this to be balanced. And how you do that, if I'm putting a 45 here, then I have to add a 45 to the opposite corner in order to make sure that that load is evenly distributed when I'm picking up the yoke. So if I can't just add one 25-pound plate. You're like, I have 25 pounds in my yoke. You need to add 2 25-pound plates, and you need to put them on opposite and opposing corners. So now I've got a little bit of weight on here. I'm going to get that bar set. And from here, I'm going to breathe deep into my diaphragm and brace my core. So big belly breath, and then pick that yoke up. Now when I'm walking with it, it's gonna be short, choppy steps. So I'm actually soft in my knees and I start to gain momentum and can keep that going. But you notice, as I'm walking, I don't have any of that normal up and down bounce that a normal walking or a normal stride would have. Because my knees are soft, I wanna keep my hips and my shoulders level and just move my feet as I'm carrying. So why I say short, choppy steps is I can't take a big step without that yoke starting to rock and starting to get awkward and weird things happen. And when you've got a lot of weight on the yoke, which right now, this yoke weighs 135 pounds by itself with an extra 90 pounds on there. This is not a heavy yoke. It's not. But you have the potential, and you might be surprised when you come in and work on this, just how much weight you can move with one of these things. So it's really important that we keep that rocking and weird stuff from happening, because if I've got, let's say I have 800 pounds on a yoke and I'm trying to carry it and it starts to rock and I start to move all over the place, my midline isn't braced. Well, if I shift sideways with 800 pounds of load on my spine, that can lead to some not so good things. So we wanna make sure as we're carrying that this doesn't move. So again, short, choppy steps when you're doing a yoke carry. And I'll demonstrate that one more time just for the sake of the video. But again, get myself set, belly breath, pick up my yoke, start off with small steps and they get a little bit bigger. But short, choppy steps all the way through. Now when I'm dropping the yoke, notice that I brought it down and I kept walking. Sometimes when you drop one of these things, the way that they're built, if I drop it in an awkward fashion, this crossbar could move and it's gonna level out on its own. But let's say the back skids hit first and then I go down, well, I'm gonna hit myself in the back of the head with the crossbar. And if I've got, again, 800 pounds on here, this thing could be moving really fast and that could be a bad day too. So you wanna keep your momentum moving forward, and even though I'm lowering the yoke, I'm gonna keep moving forward out of it. That way I walk out of the yoke and let the yoke settle on its own without me being there possibly in the way of if it comes down awkward. So we're gonna spend a lot of time, majority of the time on Thursday, working with this implement, outside, taking turns, carrying, loading up stuff, practicing new movements. Why? Because we should always be trying to learn something new. When we have the opportunity to try something new or do something that we haven't done before, it's a chance for us to add something else, some extra stimulus into our normal routines. Not that CrossFit really follows a routine per se, but introducing some form of heavy midline stabilization, have to load it. The thing I really like with yokes that you don't get with a squat bar or with a back squat, front squat, whatever, is I am forced to use my right side and my left side independently. So if I'm back squatting and my right side is stronger, well, I can actually deviate to my right side and utilize more of the musculature on my right side because my left side's weaker. So we can have those deviations and maybe not even know it. But with a yoke, as I'm carrying that 800 pounds, at some point that 800 pounds is on my right side and then it's on my left side. It's not on both simultaneously per se. So it really forces you to isolate both sides, so both sides are getting taxed to the same amount. But yeah, that's where we're gonna spend a lot of our time. Super excited because yoke carries are one of my favorite things. I know we've all probably seen it in those strongman events and things like that. It's not all that common that you see it in CrossFit gyms because not that many people have yokes. We're blessed to have at least a couple. Again, we only have one right now with COVID stuff, with equipment still being at other people's houses. But that should be fine. We'll share the same yoke. We're gonna disinfect between every athlete, and we'll take our time. We'll take our sweet time out there. It's not about working out and getting super sweaty and having a really ridiculous workout. It's about practicing something new. Yeah, we might go a little bit heavy, but that's okay. It shouldn't be enough to destroy us going into our workout on Friday. So let's go back to the board. Just cover again everything that we're doing today. Again, starting off with a 10-minute EMOM, 2 reps every minute on the minute of our snatch at 70%, ideally a squat snatch. And then working with that yoke, finding that heavy 50-foot carry. And then we're going to accumulate 3 minutes in a handstand. So that is what we're getting into for Thursday. It's going to be a great day today. I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope to see you in the gym. And with that, let's get after it.